Well, hello there, guys. I got a few questions for you. Are you young? Do you like drinking? Do you like breaking the law? If you said yes to all of those questions, then you would have done just fine and dandy in the Prohibition era of the 1920s and 30s. Basically, what Prohibition was the government just told people, hey, you guys are drinking way too much, so we're going to make it illegal for you to buy, consume, or make alcohol. And that came around with the 18th Amendment, which was brought into fruition on December 18th in 1917. But it didn't just start there, it came from somewhere. Anyways, the Prohibition originated in the 1820s and 30s with a wave of religious revivalism and a call for temperance, which is basically temperance, become better people. And obviously someone along the line thought drinking was making people bad people. Boo you, drinking's just fun, that's what it is. Anyways, so after the 18th Amendment was passed, 2 years later, apparently the government decided that it just wasn't doing the job well enough, so they brought along some companion legislation, which was known as the Volstead Act. Basically all it did was strengthen the 18th Amendment. It just went along with it, and that came out in January of 1919. And, at first, these two legislative acts, they actually worked. Drinking levels dropped drastically. There was a lot less drunken arrests around town. And illegal alcohol was actually way too expensive for the average Joe, the average worker to afford. So, it was working out for a while. But after a while, people started to say, hey, I want booze. And the government was saying, hey, you can't have booze. But you always know, this is basic economics. If there's a demand, there's going to be a supply. And as the demand increases, so does the supply. And as the supply increases, the prices go down. So, with all this demand for alcohol, it kind of sparked the bootlegging industry. And bootlegging is just the illegal production and distribution of alcohol. It's just a cool name for it. But, yeah, bootlegging. So that came around, and it actually spurred drinking spots, which were known as speakeasy clubs. That's a cool name. I kind of want to go to a speakeasy club now. That'd be fun. But, yeah, so people started going to all these speakeasy clubs, and the government just did not have the resources because so many people were doing this. They just couldn't stop it. They tried their hardest, but, people became creative. They started carrying hip flasks on them. I read this one story where this dude had a hollowed-out cane with booze in it. That's pretty. Just imagine an old man just walking down the street with a booze cane. That'd be pretty funny. But yeah, people became creative. They wanted their alcohol, so that's what America's about, right? Do what you want to do, live the way you want to live. So, anyways, with all of this government saying no, people saying yes, it brought about actually more violence, which is counterintuitive because you'd think that with alcohol being illegal, people would be less violent, but, there was actually open riots in the streets against law enforcement and a drastic increase in organized crime, because bootlegging, it's an industry. It's about money. So with any kind of industry, there's going to be professionals. When there's professionals involved, it becomes organized crime if it's illegal. Kind of like the drug industry nowadays. This was as organized, if not even more organized, because, it brought around our favorite pal, Al Capone, arguably the most infamous gangster in the history of the world. He was the leader of the Chicago Mafia, and, he didn't just stick to bootlegging, he also did gambling and prostitution, but, we're talking about bootlegging, prohibition, and all that, so we're going to stick to that. Anyways, Al Capone, he actually made quite a healthy profit off of all this. He was estimated at $100 million with his worth. And I guess the government was looking at all that saying, wow, first of all, since people are already buying alcohol, regardless of whether it's illegal or not, that means the government is missing out on sales taxes. Money, 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 money. That's what the world is all about, is money. Government wants that money, you know what I'm saying? So they just want a piece of the pie. And also they realize that it's just not working. People are doing what they want anyways. And they're just wasting. They're wasting money and not making money. They're wasting money trying to stop it, and they're not making money off the taxes that alcohol was bringing in, anyways. So basically, after a couple years of all this prohibition crap, the government was looking at it and saying, this just isn't working out. So in 1933, Prohibition was ended by the ratification of the 21st Amendment, which rescinded the 18th Amendment, and thus ended Prohibition. Anyways, guys, that's all for today. I hope you had fun. I know I did, and I'll catch you on the flip-flop.